All right. How's it going, everybody? Welcome to the stream. Today's gonna be pretty chill. I'm just messing around. I've been thinking a lot about different weapons and their handling stats, basically, like kind of their overall um, performance in gameplay. But in particular, I was talking with someone a couple of days ago, and they were insisting that the Liberator carbine, the AR-23A Liberator carbine, was just a flat upgrade to the starting Liberator in all scenarios, and I don't think I agree. Well, that's not. I mean, I just completely disagree with that. I mean, I generally think that the AR-23A Liberator carbine. Well, let's see. Let's just pull this thing up here, shall we? This is what I've been kind of messing with for like today and like a bit yesterday, just thinking about this stuff because it's kind of fun to me to get into the nerdy details. Um, yeah, so AR-23 Liberator, the Sief Standard Assault Rifle, balancing power, fire rate, and weight for a reliable weapon against smaller targets. So it's light armor penetration, and it's described as just being balanced across all factors, right? And designed primarily for small targets. So that's important. We know that, descriptions in game are not always 100% useful or accurate or whatever. But many times I find that they do give you a clue about like sort of the developer's design intent for the weapon. So I try to keep those things in mind. And of course, here's the default configuration with that description in mind, right? So we got 90 damage, 45 capacity, 11 recoil, fire rate of 640. It's interesting that the recoil that it shows you at this level is sort of like a composite rating or something, I guess. And then when you go into customization, you can see the horizontal and the vertical recoil together, which let's see, so 15 and 6, that would be what, 21. And I think so half of that would be 10.5, and the rounding in the game, I don't remember how they do it. If it's 10, if it's a 0.5 or above decimal, if they round up or if they round down. I'm assuming that they round up because here uh, it would be 10.5 if we divided it by 2 because there's two factors, right? Two stats, and then it gives us 11. So I'm assuming that they round up if it's at 0.5 and they round below, or they round down if it's less than 0.5, technically. But anyway, uh, and then by comparison, let's see. So the AR-23A, a compact version of the Liberator, designed for increased viability in close quarters, has an increased fire rate at the cost of higher spread. Now, that's interesting about this is it specifically says spread because spread is a stat for our weapons, but they don't show those in the game. You have to go to some like the helldivers.wiki.gg in order to see all of those detailed stats. And there's probably even more that we don't have access to completely. So, um, yeah, pretty interesting stuff. But anyway, so fire rate's 920, and it says this is specifically designed for increased viability in close quarters with increased fire rate and higher spread, which is exactly what you would kind of expect when it comes to an assault rifle, right? Close range, more bullets, more quickly. Your recoil and stuff is going to go crazy. And then we see, 5 horizontal, 26 vertical, but it has a little bit higher spread or ergonomics, right? Comes with the muzzle brake by default, so it's stays centered nicely. It just it rips up vertically, right? And I was trying. One thing I was thinking about, actually, one thing that I noticed recently is that the little reload icon down there, uh, whenever you swap out the different magazines, it adjusts the time it takes for the little animation of the magazine to empty and the time it takes for it to refill during the little reload thing. So it like reload time +1, -1, all that kind of stuff. It actually matches that, which is pretty cool. I'd never noticed that detail before. I don't know if that's something they added recently or if I just wasn't paying attention. I probably just wasn't paying attention. Uh, but I know like the recoil simulator is in and of itself kind of an approximation. I was trying to get an idea for how many recoil stat points one of those little grid boxes is worth. You know what I'm saying? So like this one, like if we look at the, I don't can't really point this out too much, but if you look down at the recoil sim box, um, you see that the crosshair is not directly in the center of that bottom square. It's slightly above center. And then let's see, this has got 26 recoil, and that jumps up to about a quarter of the way. So into the next box. So that's like about half of the vertical distance of one of these little recoil sim squares is 25 points. So that means that each one of these boxes, recoil sim boxes, is approximately 50 points by 50 points of stat value, I would assume. You know, I mean, I don't really know for sure. But that's kind of what it looks like to me so far. If anybody knows, with greater detail, I would love to know that. But it might just be the case that the recoil simulator is, only ever going to be an approximation for what we're dealing with. I also noticed today that for some reason, the guns, all of the guns have the same style of flash hider and the same style of compensator, but they have different styles of muzzle brakes depending on the weapon. And this, look at this. So like the carbine has like, I don't know, just like a standard looking compensator. It's very similar. I don't think I have one on for my rifle anymore, but they make different sizes of these things. But it's interesting to see that this is sort of like the largest one that they have. And then if you go and you look at it for, let's see, I think this one. Yeah, the tenderizer. If you look at the muzzle brake on this one, it's a much shorter snub nose style, but the flash hider is the same and the compensator is the same. And then let's see, I think the BR also, yeah, it's got a different style muzzle brake as well, which is pretty interesting. I'm not sure exactly why they have these different ones. Like, I know, for instance, that, let's see, I want to say they have, let's see if I can flip this over here. Yeah. I think it might be somewhat tied to the size of the bullet, because if we look here, see if I can, yeah, so the Liberator has 5.5 millimeter caliber and a 4.5 gram mass. So does the Penetrator. So does the Carbine. Tenderizer has an 8 millimeter caliber, 11 gram mass. So that could explain why it's different. And then the Adjudicator also has a different size. It's not identical. Like the size and weight of the bullet is identical to the Tenderizer, but what's interesting is that they have different armor penetrations, right? So that would, I guess that would imply that they would have slightly different. Hmm, powder charges or slightly differently shaped uh, like bullets. Not cartridges. The cartridges, I would imagine, well, I guess it depends. Yeah, there's different ways that you can manufacture um, shell casings and all that kind of stuff. So my assumption is that they Arrowhead decided to go to such detail as to change specifically the muzzle brakes based on the caliber and armor penetration value of the weapon in question. So let's see. Let's see. So we know the Liberator Penetrator, and the Carbine all have the same size bullet. So let's see if they all share the same muzzle brake. Since that's the only one that I've noticed that changed. Okay, so we got the full-size muzzle brake. I'm going to call it the full-size large muzzle brake. On Carbine, not changing anything. Stop telling me that. This one has the same. Okay, so the penetrator has a different one, but the penetrator is not light penetration. It's medium penetration. So that would match our hypothesis, right? It is based it's so far it seems that the type of muzzle brake specifically, but not the compensator or flash hider. I don't know why that would be offhand. Maybe there's some kind of real world rationale. But the muzzle brake, oh well, you know what? Well, they both redirect gases to compensate. So it's just this one ejects the gas vertically to help push down the barrel. This one ejects it to the sides to keep it more centered, but I'm not sure why. I don't know. It's just kind of an interesting thing that I noticed. Like they have different details like this in the game that make it pretty cool. But this is just one that I noticed today. Specifically, the muzzle brakes differ on some of these things, and I never really thought about why that might be. I just kind of noticed it sort of passively before, but today is whenever I noticed that it is specifically tied to bullet caliber, weight, and penetration value. So medium pen gets a different one. Let's see how about here. No, we can't do it here. Okay. Right? There was nothing there at all, right? Yeah, okay. How about this one, the 1-2? This one gets the long size barrel, and I'm pretty sure the 1-2 is just the same as the Liberator stuff. The other Liberators. Let's look. Oh, it is a little bit different. This is also an 8mm. Um, it's still light pen though. Let's see, light pen and 8mm versus light pen, and this is like what, 4.5, 5.5. That's interesting. That's pretty interesting to me. I wonder what exactly where exactly the cutoff is. Maybe it's like a damage threshold, 95. No, it can't be damage threshold because this one's different, but it's got the armor penetration value. So maybe it's one of those things where it's like some composite value at the end. How about the Coyote? Coyote has its own shorty muzzle brake. Just gonna leave that there so I can reference it. Let's see, what does that look like? So that's a 7mm bullet with medium pen. Okay, so it still kind of aligns with caliber, some combination of caliber and armor penetration. But this one is the same, right? I have that compensator on any of these, do I? Or the muzzle brake, rather. Oh, this is the muzzle brake. Yeah. Yeah, so that's got its own version. This one's got its own version. This one shares the same. Yeah, it's just a different color. Okay. So it is a larger caliber, but it has slower initial velocity. Oh wait, I'm looking at the wrong gun. 920, 900. It's actually got higher velocity than the how about that? 8, 920, 650 RPM. This one goes slower, but it's got a smaller. Huh. Technically, the 1-2 has less spread, so it's technically per shot basis, it's more precise than the base Liberator. That's pretty interesting. Hmm. So their net damage and everything is pretty similar. They're both light pen. It does slightly more damage in both standard and durable, but it's what about the base recoil? It's also got a little bit more recoil, but it's got less spread. That's so interesting. It's so interesting to me to look at these things and kind of see like all the different levers and stat values that Arrowhead has placed in this game as things that they can modify to try and you know make things fill different niches and different roles, right? Like, oh, I like assault rifles, but I'd rather them have this flavor or that flavor, right? It's pretty cool. I see that they try to do that for a lot of things. They don't always get it right, but I do see what they try and do, and I really like that about the game. It's very fun. Whew, excuse me. All right. So let's see here. Let's see. Is this considered to have a compensator? I wonder. Doesn't support attachments, but it kind of looks like it has. Make it a better. Oh, I can't really like view it up close. That kind of looks like a compensator though. It's blowing them out the side, or not a compensator, a muzzle brake. Of course, this is a crossover weapon, so it would make sense that it could have its own unique design anyway. So I guess we can just discard that one because of that. Pacifier. Hmm. That has a somewhat unique looking one too. Certainly unique relative to the Coyote. Same size bullet at base, but lower damage, higher pen. And it has the stun effect, which I guess is the reason why it does less damage. Let's see, the pummeler. That's a light pen, right? Yeah. Which is sort of the whole reason, like the whole difference between these two. Pummeler can only stun light armor or below, and pacifier can stun stun up to medium targets, which is pretty cool. Okay, stun them and then get more precise shots. I mean, that makes sense. That's actually kind of interesting because that means that what you can do is you can just use it against bots. And this is kind of what I mean, you just shoot them anywhere you want, like 1 to 3 bullets to shoot a bot. Let's say one of the more complicated targets, like a heavy devastator, because their shield gets in the way. Can't get a clear shot on their head all the time, but if you can stun them, then they go into that like hung it, that strung out stun pose, and then you can just shoot them in the head twice, maybe 3 times, depending. I guess it would have to be 3 shots because there's going to be some damage fall off no matter what, right? Yeah. So 3 shots to the head, and then that would take them down. The main benefit, of course, being that you stun them, and so they're not shooting at you. Even if this might not be able to kill as quickly as, like, 1 shots to the head with different guns, uh, this neutralizes the threat temporarily while you then shoot them in the head, and that's pretty valuable. Or, if you're with a coordinated team, then you can be the one who stuns the medium units, and then the teammates mop them up or whatever. And then with like something like Pummeler, you could, aim for their feet or whatever, I guess, or anything that's light armor. But I guess again, the value comes into this being medium pen, so you're not limited to light armor or below. Trying to think, what would be a target that has medium pen that you would want to do this for? Maybe the reinforced striders. I mean, they have light pen. They have light armor legs, and I assume I'm not sure. I would assume that the pummeler can affect them if you shoot them in the leg. Just don't know how many it might take. And let's see, berserkers are just like unarmored or light armored. Regular devastators, medium armor chest. Hulk vents are light armor or unarmored. I forget. It doesn't really matter, but everything can hit those. Cyborgs are pretty much all light armor, I think. I know one of the valuable things would be, well, number one, Pummeler is going to have a lot more damage fall off because it's an SMG compared to the pacifier. So there's one aspect, and I imagine it probably has less spread, but let's see. Actually, this has got 4 spread. That's kind of a lot, which is surprising. Pummeler. Oh, yeah, it's much slower projectile too, with a lot more. It's got even more spread. And it doesn't fire as quickly. So okay, I mean, definitely more limited in range. So like, and gravity is 100. Gravity's 100. Yeah, drag factor. So yeah, in terms of being able to reach out and stun things a little farther away, the pacifier definitely is going to be able to do that more effectively than the pummeler, and then the one-handed difference and all that. Let's see, on the illuminate front, you could stun the illuminate overseers and then shoot them in the head with the pacifier for a relatively quick kill, because those things moving around is frustrating as heck, especially as for me as a controller player on PlayStation. I don't know if stunning elevated overseers prevents them from still moving around with their jetpack, because I know that sometimes different things they might be disabled, but they can still move on their jetpack for some reason. I'm not sure if that applies to with the stun effect. I would have to check that. But that would be one benefit, being able to kill overseers in the head definitely more quickly than the pummeler. Because even though like their chest is light armor and you can shoot through it, it has a lower fire rate and it's only going to do 65% of its damage. So you're doing maybe 50 or 55 damage. Whereas with the pacifier, you're doing full damage to the chest and you're firing faster. So you would have an effectively equal or faster time to kill if you're just shooting them to the body. Um, so that's a use case for that, which is cool. And then, um, yes, let's see what else. Any of the bugs that are medium pen, like the hive guard, obviously the pummeler would have a little bit more of a difficult time because you can't just shoot them straight in the face. Of course, they can both rip through light armor targets pretty well. They're going to do about the same. They're going to do about the same amount of damage versus light armor targets by the time the pummeler has its damage penalty for matching the armor. And then what else? Of course, distance and accuracy and all that is going to change. Your warriors and your brood commanders and all those kinds of things. The main benefit to the pummeler would be the one-handed if you take advantage of like moving and shooting compared to the pacifier. You would have to be more intentional about it. What are some of those other targets though? I'm trying to think. Like, I want to say because of the higher fire rate of the pacifier, it's just should on average be able to apply the stun more quickly than the pummeler, just because 475, they both have the same status, strength, and duration. And that would be one difference for sure. So yeah, they both have their places. Which is another thing that's nice. You know, it's about the different flavors of some of the similar guns is pretty cool. But anyway, I just got like totally distracted. What was I? Oh yeah, the compensator, the muzzle brake. So yeah, it still seems like it's a little bit unique based on the armor penetration and the bullet size, which is pretty interesting to me. I don't know exactly super precisely what makes them change them, but it is a detail that they have in the game. So, you know, more cool, intricate details like that are always appreciated in my book. Yeah, Krieg, I definitely agree. Like the one-handed trait and being able to like jog and shoot is pretty nice. I guess before you were here, what I was kind of getting at was the I assume because of the fire rate difference, you might expect to more quickly apply stun with the pacifier than the pummeler. And then, of course, you know, the range difference. Yeah, I know a lot of times players find stun to just be underwhelming, right? Versus just killing stuff. It definitely seems like I was just thinking out loud and kind of looking at the stuff here, the different use cases. Like versus light armor enemies, the pacifier is going to do its full 55 damage, but the pummeler is only going to do 65% of that damage, which is like about the same. What's is that anyway? Calculator. So 85 times 0.65, right? Yeah, so they're going to do exactly the same damage to light armor penetration target or light armor targets, right? The difference at that point comes down to the damage fall off because the pummeler has a much lower. Let me see. Split screen. Pummeler. Yeah, so the pummeler has a much lower. It's got a lower fire rate, and then of course the screen is all discombobulated here. It's got a much lower initial velocity and a much greater drag factor, so its damage fall off begins much sooner. Probably like, I don't know, you wouldn't want to use it much farther beyond 25 meters or something, I guess. And yeah. Where is Yeah, there it is. Well, the durable damage would also be affected by the armor pen, right? The armor pen difference. Did I turn off my calculator? I did. So what would that be? 17 times 0.65. So 11 versus 10. Okay, so it's still going to retain 1 point more. Yeah. Of course, by the time you factor in the damage fall off, it's probably going to end up being about the same. I would guess a negligible difference anyway between the two. As you go farther out in range, though, the pacifier would start to pull ahead, and this is specifically for light armor targets, right? Because the pummeler has that 0.65 modifier for matching the armor value. Yeah, I mean, that's splitting hairs. I mean, it's getting into the details just for the fun of it, right? Because so many of these guns are side grades, like different flavors of stuff that are similar but different enough. So I think it kind of seems like in some cases, or at least like the goal, I think, is um, to have those sort of similar but different niches, I guess, so you can really fine tune how you would like to play. See the pacifier working on bots maybe, but the voteless and scavengers get very close, so I would want to move a lot more. Yeah. Yeah, I agree with that. The pacifier uh the pacifier is not something that I would use to focus on unarmored targets at all if I could help it. Because you're just wasting too much armor penetration for starters. And then the stun isn't even going to work against the smaller ones because you're just going to kill them. Yeah. Yeah, I agree about the bots thing. Like, one thing that I was thinking about is, like, as far as I know, the status buildup effect isn't influenced by um, damage fall off or matching penetration or anything. As long as you deal damage, then it's the same status buildup. So it would come down to probably the ranges that you engage in, right? So, like, and then of course, light armor versus medium armor. So, like, the devastators, they're gonna do, no matter what, is gonna take the same amount of bullets to shoot them to the head with either one of these guns, as long as you're within the effective range, so you don't have too much damage fall off. So, like, a devastator, you could shoot it at, like, what, 2 or 3 times in the leg, stun it, so then it's in its, like, mannequin marionette pose, and then you can just shoot it in the head two or no, I guess 3 times to kill it with either one of them. But with the pummeler, you would almost certainly have to be within 20-25 meters. If you go outside of that, you might have a little bit harder of a time. Pacifier, it should be easier to get those shots lined up. And of course, the big benefit is you stun them long enough so that they stop shooting at you, and then you can easily get that headshot with either option, I guess. Or if you're in a team, right, you just like shoot stuff in the leg, or just aim for the body or wherever, get them to be stunned, and then your teammates can more safely take them down because now they're not able to respond with their own gunfire for 3 seconds, right? So that would be pretty cool, especially for the Devastators, to make them drop their shield for 3 seconds. Like, that's pretty valuable, I think, if people were to try to capitalize on it. Because when things get crazy and stuff, like, it's easy to think, like, ah, just aim for the head, or just do this, or just do that, or whatever. Um, but 3 seconds of breathing room against a heavy shield Devastator, that could be pretty substantial sometimes. And if let's see, I was thinking for like the bile spewers for bugs, like being able to shoot the green variant bile spewer, a couple of shots with the pacifier, like that can save you from just being melted instantly. Or you could save a teammate. You might not necessarily kill him, but sometimes you don't have to kill him. Sometimes you just need to be able to buy your teammate or yourself a couple of precious seconds to dive away or stem or whatever, right? Um, I know a lot of times people, like players, people don't really like to think about those types of scenarios. It's like, well, it's better to just kill them. It's like, well, yeah, I mean, obviously, it's always better to kill them, but you know, uh, you're not always able to, you know. And I don't know. I just enjoy, I guess, the idea of being able to approach these things with this different way, especially in like a team support oriented manner, because it's kind of like people want the stem pistol to be better too, so that they can really like lean into like medic play and stuff, or even like the team reload weapons that don't see a whole lot of engagement, I guess. At least not in random quick plays. Yeah, exactly. Most of the weapons that can kill spewers easily would also kill your teammate. And like, to be fair, you can use a light pen weapon and shoot the green bile spewers in the mouth now, and it's easier since they adjusted the mouth hitbox. But when things are crazy, and if you're sprinting, or if you're like doing like the sprint into a crouch slide to try and shoot them, like that's time. It takes time, and you don't have the time. There's almost always going to be more than one green bile spewer, right? And you're not going to be able to John Wick your way into lining up that mouth shot. So it's like, if you can just shoot them anywhere at all, like within 3 shots, I'd say, of the pacifier, they're going to be stunned, and now your teammate has a chance. The Eagle rocket pods. Yeah, I really like them a lot too. Like, they are a little finicky sometimes, but that 3600 damage is pretty sweet. You think the mouth shot is a trap? Yeah, I mean, I could see that. Well, I don't know if I would view it as a trap. I think it can be a trap. I think it's more like, if there's only one or two of them and you're kind of in a pinch, then it's pretty easy to just like pull that shot off even with a light pen weapon. And so that is something that you might consider like a skill shot, I guess, like using light pen to aim for the relatively small hitbox. Last resort thing, yeah. Because the angle of attack also matters. Because I know whenever I was working on that Liberator review I did a few weeks ago, I got pretty good at shooting them in the mouth with the Liberator. Like, it only takes, I don't know, 3 or 4 bullets to shoot them, to kill them in the mouth, something like that. And I was kind of surprised at how easy it was to kill them with the Liberator to the mouth. But like, there's a lot of things that could go wrong too. Like, if the terrain is jagged, if they have a weird angle or something like that, right? Um, so yeah, it's definitely it's easier than it used to be, but it's still not easy, right? But anyway, but yeah, that's what a use case. That would be a use case in favor of the pacifier, right? Because the pummeler, unless you hit them in a light pin section, which I guess you could aim for their belly, like the big green belly. I guess that would also work too. I don't know. Um, so that's an option. I guess it just comes down to how far away you are. Got you interested in trying to liberate her, huh? Hell yeah, brother. We can be uh, liberator bros, liber bros, liber. I don't know. It's fun. I like it. I mean, I generally uh like standard like rifles. They're not always going to be, nothing's going to be the best at everything, really. I mean, not even the crossbow and the eruptor are best at everything because if something gets in close, well, you just killed yourself, right? Or if you're trying to save a teammate, you don't compensate properly for the explosion distance, you just killed your teammate and different things like that. So, um, yeah, I really enjoy the Liberator. It's not as, it's, well, I mean, it's like, go back on the default here. Yeah. Yeah, it's like it says, standard assault rifle, balancing power, fire rate, and weight for a reliable weapon against smaller targets. So like it's an all-around well-balanced weapon specifically for smaller targets and light armor penetration. So like it's super like we were saying earlier, I think. It's very effective, like very efficient for chaff targets. Like you don't really on like a per shot, like damage per shot basis, if you're very well disciplined with your trigger, then you it's hard to find a weapon that has better efficiency than the Liberator for clearing chaff enemies, right? But as things get above that smaller target size and obviously higher armor rating, then it starts to struggle. So like if there's too many things close to you, um, then it struggles because it doesn't have the fire rate. It doesn't have the DPS. It's kind of like if even like a lot of times what I try to do whenever I'm looking at these guns, and I don't know how you assess your weapons exactly, right? I mean, obviously we all play with them and use them and think about this stuff somewhat similarly and different in different ways. But whenever I'm looking at them, I read the description because sometimes it gives you a clue in, and then you look at the default customization and it's like, okay, well, it comes with a 2x red dot. So the 2x red dot we know comes with it's 25 meters, what is it, 50 meters and 100 meters. So to me, that says, all right, this weapon probably likes to fight between 25 and 75 meters. Because obviously, it gets farther out, you start getting more some damage fall off or whatever and stuff like that, right? But so between the description of it being like balanced and reliable for smaller targets, and the red dot all by itself, it's like, okay, well, probably I should avoid letting things get too close. If I let them get inside of that 25 meters, then I'm not going to have enough fire rate and total like damage per second to kill things or whatever, right? Like armor penetration is really obvious because it's like, oh, well, you can either penetrate it or you can't, but it doesn't necessarily tell you like the best case scenario to use the weapon, right? Like the game doesn't even tell us that matching armor to your armor penetration uh, incurs a 35% damage penalty, right? So in some sense, the Liberator's best case scenario is against unarmored targets that are relatively small in size and that you can keep at bay between 25 and like 75 meters or something. Because then you're not going to lose any damage to armor, and the per shot efficiency is going to be pretty high because you're shooting smaller size targets. So as long as you don't, fire too many or miss or whatever. So that's like one way that I think about this stuff sometimes. And it's kind of the same thing for most of the guns. Like most of the guns, that's what I try to keep in mind, at least in terms of like their damage output and like efficiency and stuff. but then you have to also, keep in mind, all the hidden stuff that's not included in the game, right? Because there's like, flip back here. Well, in this one, we get to see the most we can see is the horizontal and the vertical recoil, the sway, ergonomics, capacity, mags, reload time. Which, by the way, dude, did you notice? I just noticed this today that the little reloading magazine down there, the timing that it takes for that to empty and the timing it takes for it to fill back up changes based on which magazine you're looking at. I never noticed that until today. Did you know that? I didn't notice that. Like the drum mag makes it a little longer to fire and empty, makes it a little longer to reload. Compared to the short mag, drains real quick, but then it also reloads real quick. Pretty cool. I know, and then I don't know when they added that. Like, I never noticed it until today. Like, I noticed that the reload animation was there some time ago, but I don't remember when. I just wasn't paying attention to it. It's a cool detail that there's so many details. But yeah, what was I saying? Yeah, so the browser though, with all these extra details, I don't know if you were here earlier whenever I was talking about there are certain guns that have their own unique muzzle brake specifically, and it seems to be tied to the caliber of the bullet, the armor penetration, and what was the other thing that I was thinking about? The armor penetration. Yeah, caliber. Uh, I'm like blanking out right now, dude. Anyway, there's a couple different factors that seem to determine whether or not it gets this like longer full size muzzle brake design, or if it gets something like this one for the penetrator. See how that's a different one? It's the same bullet size, but it's got a higher armor penetration. What else was there? I want to say it might also be linked to status effect, if it has a status effect or not. Penetrator. But for sure it's tied to caliber and penetration, which is kind of an interesting tidbit. What were these I was looking at? Way. Yeah, but then like the GL or the 1-2, it also has sort of the normal Liberator looking muzzle brake. But this gun, yeah, so this one, it has the 8mm caliber, and it has a similar fire rate, but it's still only light pen. So like there's some kind of correlation. I'm just not sure exactly what it is. Like this one is pretty similar to the standard Liberator in terms of like fire rate, armor penetration, and the initial velocity. But technically it has a larger caliber bullet. So yeah, I don't know, but that's most of them have this. Most of them have this one, this sort of full length looking muzzle brake. But then there are those like the Liberator Penetrator has its own unique muzzle brake. Of course, the Stahl 52 is a crossover gun, so yeah. Wait, what? 2-1, 1-2. No, it's called 1-2, right? 2-1. What do you mean? I'm not understanding what you mean. 1, 2, 2, 1. Oh, the numbers. I got you. Okay. That is pretty funny, actually. I hadn't noticed that. GL 2 1. Oh, I guess it's because the 2 1, the hyphenated 2 1 is attached to the grenade launcher portion and not the assault rifle portion, maybe? I wonder, let's see. AR-32, AR-23, 23, 52, 2, 5C, 61, 23A, 59. We don't have. Yeah, we don't have any others in that slot. So secondary would be where it's at, right? So this is GP. This is GP, so, because these are grenade pistols, technically. So then the grenade launcher. That's the only grenade launcher we have in the primary slot, right? Sorry for the moment there, Norm. Chilling. We chilling. Let's see, where's the grenade launcher at? Huh. So the Grenadier Battlement is E/GL 21 Grenadier Battlement. How about that? Oh yeah, that could be the case. Well, it's a 40 millimeter grenade. Okay, so the emplacement GL 21 Grenadier Battlement, and then we've got the GL 21 grenade launcher. Those are it, right? GL 28 belt-fed grenade launcher, but that one has a different damage profile. How much damage does the 40 millimeter grenade launcher do? Let's let's look at this. Flip this around here. Okay, so the assault rifle GL combo, 40 millimeter grenade, 250 medium pen. Yeah, that's true. I wonder if that's all been reflected in here yet. Grenade launcher. The wrong one. There it is. Belt fed. And then I need to look at the grenade pistol. Yeah, pistols. Grenade pistol is just straight up 400 explosion with medium pen. Belt fed is heavy pen 150 explosion. Of course, the support weapon grenade launcher is 400 explosion AP4. See if I can arrange these. I'll arrange them first by penetration and then by damage. Where'd it go? There it is. Okay, so so the grenade has. Wait a minute. Oh, okay. It's got projectile damage and it has explosion damage. That's stronger than I thought it was. I'd never actually looked at it before, but that's more powerful than I realized. Uh, yeah, 250 and 400, 250. No, no, it's the same. It's the same as the grenade pistol. Yeah, yeah, it's the exact same as the grenade pistol. Are there any other differences? 30-30. Looks like they're pretty much identical. 8 meter shockwave radius. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, the 1-2 assault rifle, its grenade launcher is identical to the grenade pistol, which that makes sense. Direct hits are definitely worth it, depending on the target, I guess. Uh, so GL, the other one is GL21 though. I wonder why one is grenade launcher and one is grenade pistol, but they're both, well, obviously I know because this one is just straight up a pistol. The GL28, what size? 40 millimeter. Still says it's 40 millimeter. 100 meters per second, 120 frag. Yeah, they're the same. They just have different explosions and do or do not have ballistic damage. So the grenade launcher does not have ballistic damage. The belt-fed grenade launcher does not have ballistic damage. Grenade pistol and the AR one does have ballistic damage. Interesting. Let's see. Need to think. Yeah, I know a lot of people are uh, unsatisfied with the belt-fed grenade launcher. Hmm. Capacity, rounds from supply, rounds from box. Yeah, the way that I kind of view the belt-fed at the moment. Yeah, yeah, for sure, is the backpack. It's kind of like a precision grenade launcher, though. Like, in a way, because the explosion radius, let's see, 2 to 5.5 versus 3.5 to 8 on the blast radius, right? And from inner to shockwave radius. So it's one of those things, too, that it would be much easier for you to save a teammate, I think, because of that smaller explosion, which is kind of nice. And it still has, what, 20 stagger and 20 push, which is less than the GL, the standard grenade launcher, but you know. So it's one of those things that's like use cases is like, see, this one came, which one did this come in? This one came with the, was this siege ready? Let me look here. Or siege ready, siege breakers? Yeah, it was siege breakers. So it kind of makes me think, yeah, for sure. The recoil differences. 23 versus 23. Yeah, so I guess part of the justification for the damage differences is the recoil difference for sure, because the belt fed is way more controllable, especially considering you can crank it up to that max fire rate. And then even though it's only doing 150 explosion damage versus 400, it's kind of like it's an explosive machine gun. Yeah, GL resupply pack can. Yeah, that's a common comparison, and that's very reasonable. Although I do think that sometimes people overvalue that combination in this context, and specifically I think the reason for it is they're kind of when a person thinks of that as a counterpoint to the belt-fed grenade launcher, they're thinking about like, well, you get your grenade launcher and your supply pack, and the supply pack gives you ammo for your grenade launcher, it gives you stims, it gives you grenades, and it gives you ammo for both of your primary and your secondary, right? And that's true, but uh, in my experience, most of the time you're not maximally obtaining all of those things because you're usually not using up, you know, the correct ratio of grenade launcher ammo, stims, grenades, primary and secondary ammo to get all of the benefits that the supply pack could give you in that scenario. And of course, you have to stop and reload the grenade launcher. Um, so it definitely has merit and it is super useful. It's been a go-to for a very long time. I mean, if you are good at managing the battlefield and your approach to different scenarios, then you can go a long way with it for sure. Yeah, and I think that's one of the big deals too, is that like, especially like, I mean, if you want to go off on your own or anything, like supply pack is kind of, I would say the supply pack is probably the reigning champion, with maybe a few exceptions to like if you want to prioritize like being super fast and maybe do something like the jump pack or the warp pack. Yeah, it definitely helps with that for sure. And if you're really good about it, and if you're like kind of being like a little bit more on the stealthy side of things, like separated from your teammates, uh, then you don't even have to ever use the resupply call in. You just let your teammates use that, and then after like what 7 minutes or something, you call in a fresh resupply backpack for yourself. So there's definitely like it has super strong place. Um, we would just have to take time to think through like the benefits of the belt fed because obviously, you know, you're not going to use them for the same thing, right? You're not going to take the belt fed grenade launcher and just go off on your own necessarily. I mean, maybe it could. I would have to spend some more time thinking about it, but because you do get to have that extra stratagem slot if you do it that way. You don't have to stop to like you get one extra stratagem slot with the belt fed by comparison. You never have to reload, you just have to grab an ammo box. You can be very precise with your shot placement at a very high fire rate, which is pretty cool. And then you can still destroy all of the same structures like bug holes and things like that. So it's got the same utility as the standard grenade launcher. Hmm. Now I know one of the big complaints is that a single grenade can't kill like, some of the I guess smallish enemies, but it can kill like all the tinier bugs. It can't necessarily kill a hunter, I guess. Which that's because of the way like the damage, like explosion stuff works, right? Something like that. If it were able to technically hit more than one enemy, I guess it could. But yeah, it takes a lot to kill the stuff. Like even like Devastators, I think it's like 5 shots or something to kill a single Devastator, which is crazy. Because that would be what is it? Main health. So it would be 2 shots from the regular grenade launcher to kill a Devastator, right? Because it's 400 shots each, 400 explosion damage each. So you'd just be going straight into the main health. So that would be 2 regular grenade launchers. Or with the belt fed, let's see, it's the 150, right? So 150, 300, 450, 600, and then, oh, 750. So it would be 5 shots. Yeah, 5 shots exactly. And then, so in some sense, at least from like a damage output perspective, it's more efficient just from the standpoint of like you're not overshooting the main health HP. But from an ammo perspective itself, let's see, you get 100 ammo with that versus, what is it, 10 by 4? 40 shots with the grenade launcher, the regular grenade launcher. Of course, it's easier to kill a patrol of Devastators more easily, I would think. I would need to check, but I would assume that would be the case because let's see, the outer radius is 7.5 versus 4. Yeah, I would need to do a little. Yeah, yeah, a 2.5 per one. So that's kind of nice. I mean, that ends up in on paper, it comes out to being the same, I think, right? Isn't that what that means? And then if you consider that you get what? 2 point, what is that? 40 versus 100 rounds, right? So you get a little over 2.0 the ammo. I don't know what the ratio would be there for like damage to ammo spent do the same thing. But I don't know, it's somewhere in the ballpark, right? And then you have to factor in like the rapid fire, you never have to reload, you get an extra stratagem slot. So I don't know. I definitely see where Arrowhead was trying, how they were trying to balance them, right? Because I'm sure that they're aware of the regular grenade launcher plus the supply pack combo being like super good. Um, yeah, it's 1,000 damage less. That's for yeah. I remember seeing that too. Uh, but when it comes to the spammability and sort of I guess the only way I can think to say it is like the precision and the rapid fire that the belt fed offers in conjunction with the damage differences and the ammo differences, like they're kind of similar, or like the trade-offs make them more. The balance isn't that bad, I guess, is what I'm trying to say. Yeah. I know it's disappointing for some folks, but yeah, I mean, if stuff is within like 3 or 4 meters, then you can absolutely do it. Because this one, the outer radius on the belt fed is 4 meters versus 7.5 meters. So, but the damage and the ammo differences are, I mean, the balance is kind of there, honestly. At least I think it is. What's the DPS? 400, 600, 800, and then the other one says it's just 1,066, like across the board. I don't know. I would have to run the numbers, but in any case, yeah, like I totally get why they did it that way because otherwise it would just outright be better than the other GL. And then of course, if you don't want to bring the supply pack, because it's like there's nothing dictating that we have to bring the supply pack with the grenade launcher, even though it's a fan favorite. Like you could still do other things. You could bring the jump pack or guard dog or whatever. Uh, Personal shield, especially whenever you take away the supply pack, then I think the value of the belt fed grenade launcher increases for even more. I mean, what do you think? It seems like it. Uh, just spitballing it for me. Uh, yeah. Well, they're not for everybody. I don't use them all the time, but I rotate them in and out. Yeah, Warpack is pretty fun as long as you don't rip your own arm off by warping too often. I like the belt fed, man. It feels fun to use. That's for sure. Like strictly from a fun factor, the belt fed, in my opinion, is way better because it's just DACA except explosive. It's explosive DACA. I mean, it's super fun. Like it's so satisfying. You're you're just blowing stuff up. Uh, because it fires faster even than the Grenadier battlement. So it's got that going for it. So yeah, I mean, and that's part of the why I like to look at the numbers like this, nerd out a little bit because it kind of helps me to kind of see like, well, what does it look like? What's really happening under the hood? Like, what was Arrowhead kind of trying to do based on the numbers and stuff, and how does it stack up? Um, because a lot of times, people will have an expectation about something, and if it doesn't match that expectation, like it would behoove all of us to like re-examine our expectation and why we have that expectation, and does that expectation make sense based on the weapon or whatever. I mean, you can apply that to any aspect of life. And then if your expectation does not make sense, you go back and you adjust it and then reassess. Or if it does make sense, you go, okay, well, I don't think this is good. We need to change it, right? Or some combination. Yeah, many players expect new weapons to be better, not different. Yeah, I agree with that. Um, because you know, it's weird because this isn't like a single player story mode game where your player just where you're like playing an RPG or something where you level up and you find a new better weapon and all that kind of stuff every time. Like that's not most of the stuff is designed to be a side grade, different flavor weapon, similar but different uh strengths and weaknesses, right? Yeah, I 100% agree with that, man. Different or interesting as opposed to power creep and older weapons. Yeah. And a game like this where it's just a giant sandbox, I mean, the story beats are cool, but it's mostly like this is the kind of game you play for the fun of it, for the fun that it brings you in the moment to moment gameplay, primarily, I would think. Just ran a map with the Trident, and it's a strong contender for best light pen weapon. Yeah, what do you like about it? I think it's really fun too. I think it's basically like a laser version of the breaker shotguns. I mean, what do you think about that? And on cold planets, it's a real winner. Normal planets and hot planets, definitely not hot planets. Normal planets are like so, but it heats up noticeably faster on the standard temperature planets compared to the cold one when we were on Cyberstan. At least it's what it seemed like to me. But I mean, how much? I mean, yeah, that's real nice. In the general direction of the enemy and fire, yeah, that's pretty sweet. I do like that. I like the sound profile they gave it. It's kind of like it's got a certain like It's like if a pop and a light switch merge together somehow. I don't know if that makes sense in my brain, but yeah, it's pretty slick though. Okay, okay. Yeah, it's got kind of like a pop click sound to it. I don't know. You'll see or you'll hear. You have to let me know. It's pretty satisfying sound though, I think. I'm trying to think. I don't think there's anything else that's really got that kind of sound in this game. It kind of sounds like someone saying chalk on repeat, like chalk, 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 chalk. Yeah. All right, I'll be right back. I'm gonna go use the restroom, get myself a snack, and then I'll be back and we'll keep talking about all this good stuff and see what we can come up with. I gotta get back on track with the Recoil stuff. This is pretty interesting though. I appreciate you digging into it with me. Oh my goodness, Jeffrey, my dog's over here yawning at me. All right, I'll be right back. All right, let's see. That'll work. All right, so well, we're really having a good time talking about all this stuff. All right, so we left off talking about the GL and all that, but I want to get back to. Let me close some of these. Getting all distracted. This one off. Oh yeah, so I wanted to start looking more. I want to get start looking more into these recoils though. We got distracted with the grenade launcher stuff, and then the uh, the unique muzzle brakes on specific weapons, which is a cool detail. Um, anyway, all right. So one thing I was noticing, like, so what originally prompted me about all this was when I was talking to somebody, and their opinion was that the Liberator carbine is strictly an upgrade to the default Liberator, just like across the board in all scenarios. And I was like, I don't think that's really true. I think the carbine is exceptionally good at close quarters, but then it starts to fall off after that. I will caveat saying that I am a console player and I always play on PlayStation 5. Um, so maybe it's a little bit different for players that are habitually using mouse and keyboard, right? So that's a possibility. um, I mean, I want to say that I even have my. When I look at my controller options, do I have my button? What is it? Like haptic something or other. I don't use the motion sensor stuff, but I'm pretty sure I have the haptics for the triggers enabled and stuff too, which is kind of cool. The coyote. Yeah, I do hear that a lot. Um, Not counterpoint really. Yeah, I guess it's not a counterpoint. It's more like an aside that well they both suck compared to the coyote, right? Well, let's okay, this is gonna be the last tangent, and then I'm gonna focus on this recoil thing. All right, is this the carbine? Yeah, this is the carbine. Let me pull these over to the front while I'm thinking about this, and then we'll go from there. All right, so uh pulling over, this is the Liberator. Close this one. So close this one and this one. Carbine. I'll leave those there for now. Okay. Yeah, so the Coyote. I think I might compare this to the Penetrator. Probably a good comparison. Of course, I just closed it. Or the pacifier, maybe. Not sure. I'll just whip out all the medium pens. But not the MA5C, because that's a crossover gun. I'm not going to worry about that. Toyota. The Liberator, I think it can do it within 2, like 1.5 or something, and I think it depends on if you hit the heads, right? Because each mag is, let's say a standard 45 capacity mag, right? So 45 times 90. It's 4,000 damage per magazine. So yeah, it's like a mag and a quarter should do it. I don't know. Are those things durable at all? Fleshy Bob. Okay, so they are partially durable. The main body is 40% durable. 5,000 HP in main. And their head chunks are also... I didn't realize that they had lower and upper. Those are also considered slightly different in durability. That's pretty interesting. But it's 100% to main for the lower heads and then 150% to main for the upper heads. That's interesting. So if there's 6 of them and they're 25% durable, they take 400. Okay. Where is my Liberator? Liberator. Don't need my speech. Okay, so that would be we'll just say 40% durable for the main health, and then we'll calculate the with the heads. So if it's got 5,000 HP, okay, so it's going to be 90 times 0.6, so 54 per shot. I'll write this down. This is for Flesh Bob. That's the standard ballistic, yeah. And then durable would be 22 times 0.4. It's going to be 8.8, and then I don't remember if that rounds up or down. Do you remember if do they round up when it's 0.5 and above, or do they just always round down? I know that in some of the calculations they must round up at least when it's 0.5 and above, based on what I saw in game, but I don't know which is which. Yeah. Because there was like a recoil calculation I saw, and it had to be rounding up. But otherwise, I know that they round down for a lot of stuff. So maybe damage is always down and other things. Maybe it depends. I don't know. All right, so 8. So that'd be 64, I guess, right? 54 plus 8. 62. I can't math. All right. Yeah, I don't know. We'll assume that they're rounding down because I want to say for their damage values, they always round down. It's probably for other things like stat calculations. They might have some deviation there. So 62 per shot. So then we have 45. So 2790 per mag. So 2 mags would kill it if you only shoot it in the body and you never destroy any of the heads. But if you're destroying the upper heads, those are 150% damage to main. So I would say if you were especially trigger discipline focused, you could probably do it within 1 mag, but for sure you can do it within a mag and a half. A 45 round mag. Well, actually, since these are only the upper heads are only 25% durable and they deal 150% to main, so you might be able to do it in within 1 mag if you're really smart about it. But we'll say 1 mag to 1 mag and a half for the base liberator. And then wait, am I smoking crack right now? What am I thinking about? That would be 2 mags straight to the just to the body, but then when you do the hits, because that would be an additional. Let me think. 6 times 400 is 2400, and you get the 150% to main. Yeah, if you were really good about it and you killed all the heads, for sure, if you killed all the heads, yeah, I'd say you could do that within 1 to 1.5 mags because of the bonus damage and the decreased durable for those head chunks in particular. Because let's see, I guess I could math that out as well. I don't feel like it. Okay, let's do it. So that would be so 1 mag just to the body is 2790 only body shots, and then to the upper head. Upper head's gonna be what? Yeah, just be able to kite. Yeah, that's nice. So 90 times 0.75, so 67 plus what did I say? What is it? 22 to 5, so that's 5. So that's 72, right? Yeah. 2 per. Okay, so then 400 per head divided by 72. So it would take 6 bullets total to kill each head. Okay, so if it's 6 bullets, then that's going to be 72 times 6, which is 432, because it's going to carry over that little bit of extra. And then you're also doing, wait, but you're doing free up time between burns to deal with bolus. Yeah. Yeah, that's one of the biggest strengths is whenever you're dealing with the big crowd control stuff, for sure. If you can manage to let the dot do its job, it's very, very strong. I would agree with that. The 150% to main, That's per, is that per shot? Is that right? Because if it is, yeah, because we determined that the other day when we were talking that it's per shot, the percent to main is calculated. So that means it's actually going to be less. So it's actually not going to be 6 bullets. It's going to be fewer bullets than that. It would be, let's see, 72 times 1.5. So you're actually doing 108 damage. Uh, right? Per shot to main. Or how's that? How does that work? Is that right? How would that go down? You do 108 to the main while you're dealing. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The 72 to the head itself. That's so that is right. So 432 damage and 6 bullets kills the head, but at the end of that you have dealt 600 and uh what is 8 times 4? 648 equals 648 to main. Yeah, 648 for each head, and then times 6 is 3,888 damage plus. Wait, no, no plus. Just plus? Yes, plus. I'm not sure how that functions either. Kind of confusing. Especially because, technically speaking, anytime you shoot an enemy or a target that is unarmored, it always overpenetrates and will shoot whatever is behind it. And I do not know if these heads follow that trend since it's technically all one enemy, you know what I'm saying? So like if they're also overpenetrating through the head and hitting the body, then it's super quick. I mean, I guess the easiest thing for me to do would be to go in here and like shoot it. Find one and shoot it. But in any case, that makes it go to immediately to 3,800. And so 6 shots per head would be, let's see, 45. Okay, so that would be 38, 8 to main total. And that's on 6 of them. So then you only have like less than 1,200 HP left on the thing. And if it's 150 to main, when you kill the other 2 heads, that's another 600, or well, 800, depending. So 6 shots per head, that's 36 bullets. And then 40, let's see, 36, and then what else would it take there? It'd be close. It'd be close within a mag. It depends on, I guess, if that over penetration effect is happening. Hmm. Plus, well, I'd have to recalculate it for the lower heads, but that's not bad. I mean, that's definitely 1 to 1.5 mags. And oh, how long does it take to empty a mag? A couple seconds, something like that. So not terrible. I mean, for being the starter, basic rifle and stuff. Yeah, that would be. That'd be ideal. Just the right distance so that it doesn't charge you. Because they can still break out of stuns uh, to charge, which is kind of wild. Um, but anyway, we're in the ballpark there with 1 to 1.5. So that's all right, really. And then for the coyote, oh, so much math. So the I don't know how many shots it would take to ignite, but if it deals 100 damage for 3 seconds, then that alone would be. Let's see, how does the fire only affects main, right? Yeah. Bigger targets take a little, like, how easy something ignites. I think that scales with the size of the enemy, doesn't it? Or does it, or is that, or do they only scale the fire damage itself? Because I know they said something about fire damage deals more damage the bigger the target is. 2x multiplier, yeah. So let's say 500 divided by 600, 5,000 divided by 600. So dot alone is going to do it in just over 8 seconds. And then depending on the number of shots you put into it, let's say minimum number of shots, 8 seconds to kill a flesh mob. If you're really trying to let the fire damage do its job. So fire a couple of shots. Oh yeah, yeah. Yeah, you're right. The ignitions, yeah. So that's kind of a long time if you're doing it just doing it that way. Um, because I don't know how many bullets it would take to catch it back on fire every time. Yeah, for sure that brings it down. But if you're doing that, then you're also losing efficiency on the damage output and like the ammo economy side of things, which, a person may or may not give too much of a care about that. But it is a factor that we have to bear in mind when we're looking at like the overall weapon performance, right? Because if you're doing, say that you just keep shooting it the whole way, like you nonstop are shooting at it, then you every 3 seconds, like after it ignites and you keep firing for that 3 seconds, that's 3 seconds of the fire damage, but it's also 3 seconds of, I guess you might say, how would you phrase it? Like potential damage lost because now you're not capitalizing on the fire dot anymore by continuing to shoot at the target while it's already on fire for 3 seconds, right? Oh, hey, how's it going there, Beta Ray Jim? I'm just in here theory crafting and nerding out over numbers and details. And my brain is twisting into a pretzel because I'm doing basic arithmetic on an empty stomach. I'll have food soon. Let's see. Yeah, so, but anyway, so it's like when I this is part of whenever I'm thinking about a curve of damage over time. Yeah, that could work. Hmm. Because that's always one of those things, like just kind of like in one of my immediate thoughts about when people love the coyote for its, especially because of the fire dot and stuff, and you just keep on shooting things. Like you lose so much like ammo and damage efficiency if you keep shooting the same target while it's on fire. And so to give like a really full comprehensive like assessment of the weapon's performance, you have to keep that kind of thing in mind. At least to me, you have to. Like different people value different aspects of weapon performance differently, which is completely fine. Um, but when you're trying to really get into the nitty gritty of like, how does this weapon perform relative to something else, you have to consider like the you have to consider basically all the stats, like how easy is it to control like recoil or sway, the ergonomics, the capacity, magazines, reload time, okay, how much damage does it do per shot? How much damage does it do per second? How much uh how much high potential damage are you wasting if you shoot something like super small like a scavenger that's only got like I don't know, what do those have, like 50 health or something? Like if you shoot something like a scavenger, let's see. Uh yeah. So if you shoot something like a scavenger, right? They've only got 60 HP, one shot, one kill, but you're over killing it by what is that like a third with 75 base damage plus the fire that you're never going to have activate on the scavenger. So that's a lot of wasted damage output. And so that just became a very expensive kill from that perspective. You know what I'm saying? So most of the stuff in the game, whenever I like see people talking about tier list and this gun is the best or this gun is the worst or whatever, I'm always like, well, it depends on the circumstances because you're, you know, like spending a 75, spending shooting using something like the coyote with medium penetration and 75 damage per shot plus the fire dot. Well, now you're way overkilling the scavenger in terms of HP versus damage per bullet and the armor value versus the penetration and the fire dot that's never even going to proc. So it's like, yeah, I mean, some of the stuff is like, uh, I think it becomes more obvious in certain situations than others. But anyway, I don't want to go into that tangent any further. I want to get back to the recoil stuff, I think. All right, so let me flip this around. Oh no. Well, that's an RIP, Krieg. All right, so we got our penetrator. Put this away. Here. Wait. Probably put that away. Carbine, tenderizer, all right, so so just for illustrative purposes, let me see. That's the wrong. I hit the totally wrong button. So I did a brief comparison previously, just like on my own, messing around between the Liberator and the Liberator carbine, because I'm trying to capture this recoil difference in particular. All right, let me put this back over. Okay. So in particular, I was looking at these comparisons here. Uh, okay. So here we got the Liberator on the left and the carbine on the right. And I got them both kitted out for like max range basically and stability, recoil, low recoil. And I just did some test firing side by side with and without myself like pulling down on the thumbstick just to kind of illustrate how they are different. And this is at 20 meters because it's really just to kind of capture the core concept. Like the Liberator in all of these scenarios is, to me, it seems like it has notably easier to control recoil. So, and this is whenever they're both kitted out with, you know, the 4X optic and vertical grip and all that kind of stuff to equate them. And even when you just look at the values here, it's like these two guns in particular, they share the same caliber and the same armor penetration. So a lot of the stuff is pretty comparable, which is nice. And so when you kit them out with the same gear, the Liberator always has about half as much recoil, vertical or horizontal recoil. And then also something that is good to know is where did it? Carbine. The spread differences are there as well. The base Liberator has 2.0 in the X and Y axis, whereas the carbine has 3.0 in the X and Y axis for their spread. And so that just sort of fundamentally means that the standard Liberator is always going to be more precise just from a mechanical standpoint, right? Like there's no amount of player skill that can compensate for one of these just having more or less spread. Now this doesn't seem like a lot, right? But whenever you start to factor in the differences in recoil along with the fire rate, 640 versus 920, you start to see how it compounds the effect because the faster fire rate, since they have the same cartridge and all that kind of stuff, caliber stuff, it compresses the recovery time between each shot. So that difference plus the spread at this fire rate being about 50% faster almost, uh, it starts to make the recoil noticeably different. I'll just play this again just for because I don't feel like going into the match at the moment. See what I'm saying there? I think in this test, I was using the flash hider, instead of the muzzle brake or the compensator, just because I wanted to be able to clearly see where the bullet was going. But in terms of the ratios remain the same. Like it doesn't make a difference if you put on the muzzle brake or the compensator. Like the ratio difference of recoil remains consistent. Let's see. So for example, let's look real quick. So here we have the Liberator, vertical foregrip, muzzle brake, which I think is what most people like to use, and then the drum mag, because that's another one what people will put with it. So recoil is 3 and 10, and then 40 ergonomics. Then for this one, same thing, muzzle brake, all that stuff. 5 and 18 versus 3 and 10, and then it's got 5 more ergonomics, right? And it doesn't seem like a whole lot. Yeah, because like the flash hider difference, right, it still scales, right? But when you go into the testing with the show, like with this showcase that I have here, it's quite a bit different. And this is at 20 meters because I wanted to have a good, consistent point. So if you're in close range, like it doesn't matter as much, but this is what I would consider evidence for, within that close range, 20, 25 meters, if you don't need precision and you're aiming center mass and you're just lighting up unarmored and light armored targets, yeah, the CQC, the Liberator carbine, man, it rips. It's super good for that. But, once you start trying to go out beyond that, even in the tap fire showcase here and stuff, it just jumps around so much between, even in a 3-round burst where you're tap firing the thing, because that multiplicative effect of having a higher RPM, a higher spread, and higher recoil, there's only so much you can do to offset that. So that's kind of where I'm at with my thinking on it anyway. I mean, I like the gun. There's nothing wrong with it. But that's why my conclusion at the moment is, uh, if somebody thinks that it's just a direct upgrade across the board, I just don't think that the evidence supports that. I think it excels pretty much like the description says, designed for increased viability in close quarters, increased fire rate at the cost of higher spread. I mean, this thing is absolutely a monster in close quarters, and I think that's cool. I mean, I think that's a really good side grade addition, right? Whenever we think about things like you were saying earlier, Krieg, about different, not better, right? Where'd it go? There we go. I think that's exactly like kind of the right way to do things. I know, like, depending on play style, like if you always collapse your engagements down at within 20 or 25 meters, then you might easily think, the carbine is just better. And for that play style, yeah, sure, it would be across the board, especially if you're dealing with something like maybe with the Predator strain and you need to absolutely rip rounds as quickly as you can. Uh, I would totally agree that the Liberator carbine is going to be, in most cases, the better choice for that situation. And then Oh, what was the other thing I was thinking about there? It's like, I don't know. I'm getting I'm getting so hungry, I guess, that I'm like spacing out. But yeah, I don't know. I'd be interested if you have any other thoughts. I mean, when you were asking about the customizations, like the showcase I made there was with those, so I hope that satisfied what you're asking. Um, oh yeah, I was watching some footage of uh, well, I was messing around with it myself, but I was also watching some footage of different people who, whenever they were testing it and you just kind of using it, and yeah, no, dude, I ordered some takeout. It should be here any moment, and yeah, I think like my intuition at this point, based on these different evidences and stuff, is that the Liberator carbine might feel like a better upgrade at like at all distances for some people because if you spec into recoil management like with armor and then you crouch or go prone when you fire, they can get real similar. But that still doesn't control for the spread. And whenever I was reviewing a lot of the footage of people who were touting the praises of it, and they were saying, "Yeah, you can even do precision and stuff like that." What I noticed is that they ended up having a similar time to kill with the carbine that you would expect with the Liberator, but they were firing significantly more bullets to do it because it's got more spread and it's got more recoil. And as you know how this stuff scales. Like if your bullet is going at the wrong trajectory, then after a certain distance, and as that distance gets greater and greater, the difference between where you need to be and where you actually are is going to just continually grow even more, right? Hey, all right. Thanks for the sub. For some reason it's not popping up on my screen. I'll have to look into that. But that's awesome. Thanks so much. Um, Glad you're enjoying this this deep dive-ish content. uh what was I saying? And yeah, as if you're off by 1 degree, the farther you travel, the greater the disparity between where you wanted to be and where you end up is at. So like Liberator carbine, the farther out you go, the less on accurate and precise it's gonna the less accurate it's gonna be. It's already not precise, but yeah. Anyway, it's a great gun. I think it's a phenomenal addition to the game. I like it. It earned the title of the stalwart, right? And for those close range encounters, man, it's super fun. It's super effective. It's just not gonna be as good once you hit mid range and beyond, and that's okay. That's good. It's just one of those things, like uh, one of the fun parts of this game is the level of detail they have. Not necessarily that they get everything right all the time whenever they balance things, but like seeing what they're trying to do, and then whenever they achieve it with something like this, and I think they did. I think they did a great job making this a side grade, like a meaningful side grade. So that's one of the things that keeps me coming back to this game. It's so entertaining because you can just, you know, how do I want to do it today, right? How do I want to tackle problems? It's like it's such a fun way with so many different approaches to problem solve. Um, because this is to me this is kind of like any Helldivers 2 plays kind of like I would if I were playing something like basketball or archery or whatever sport like that. Like I'm not a professional sports ball player, but I still like playing the game. Like the game itself doesn't evolve over time. There's not a big overarching story narrative to basketball or whatever your, you know, recreational sport might be. You just play it because it's fun, right? And you can come up with new and interesting ways to play the game or to win the game or whatever, or stuff like that, and it's just fun. And so as long as Arrowhead keeps on doing stuff like this, uh, even if they don't get it 100% right every time, I mean, success is usually an iterative process anyway, right? So I'm good. Like I'm happy. But, yeah. All right. Well, it looks like my food is here, and so I'm gonna call it there for the time being. Beta Ray Jim, I really appreciate you stopping by. I'm assuming that was you that hit the sub button. I didn't see it pop up on my software here, so but thanks. I appreciate that. That really means a lot. And yeah, this kind of stuff is fun. I'm glad you enjoyed it. Krieg, always a pleasure, man. You know, I'll catch you all later. Have a good, happy Sunday, and keep spreading democracy.